What's going on, everybody? I am Perry White. I'm the host of the Jaguar Journal. I want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.
Opinionated, outspoken, informative. The Jaguar Journal. Your source for the latest information on Southern University sports and SWAC athletics. A Baton Rouge sports talk tradition.
All right, bright and early on a Saturday morning, it is the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody out there listening. I am Perry White, glad to have you guys with this rainy morning here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Shout out to everybody listening locally on Talk 107.3 FM here in the Baton Rouge capital city area, and everybody watching. Of course, each and every week you hear me shout out our YouTube and Facebook lives, all the people who get a chance to watch us from all across the country, who tuned in trying to figure out what's going on down here in Baton Rouge, and in particular, Southern University. Glad to have you guys with us. This basketball season is coming on the back end of things. We're down to the Elite Eight. I was talking to you about your brackets last week. I don't know how they looking this week. Probably not that good, huh? But this year, not too much of a Cinderella story. The only team I considered to be pretty much in a Cinderella situation was the Arkansas Razorbacks, as they lost in the Sweet 16 to Texas Tech. They were the 10th seed, the highest seed left amongst all the teams in the field. And now you basically have 1 versus 2. I think the only matchup that's not really 1-2 is Texas Tech, who is the 3 seed. But other than that, this thing is pretty much rounding out the way that we looked at it, 1 through 2, 1 seed versus 2 seeds, and we're down to the Elite Eight. And we'll be down to the Final Four, and before you know it, we'll be crowning a national champion. Are your brackets straight? Are they in shambles? I have a bracket league. We in this Yahoo Sports League, so we do our fantasy football through that as well as March Madness. So it's about 7 of us in this group. This is where you make your brackets and it rank. Right now, I'm still number 1, where I belong. At the top. I won the fantasy football league. Now it look like I'm headed. I don't want to speak too soon, but it look like I'm headed to win this March Madness bracket. I'm pretty much straight. I had Iowa State in my Elite Eight. Iowa State didn't even make it to the Sweet 16. That's one of the teams that kind of threw me off. St. John as well. I thought St. John was going to make it to the – I think, what was it? My Sweet 16 matchup was Iowa State versus St. John. It's kind of threw my bracket off a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit. So let me get ready to take a break, just kind of getting you guys in, trying to get my voice going and just trying to wake up a little bit. But guess what? We're going to have more because I want you to stay tuned. The Jaguar Journal. We'll be right back.
Quincy Richard is the quarterback. And Don, this is a man who's really changed his game from last season, and he's a graduate student as well.
Yes, he has, Bob. Quincy Richard has matured into the unquestioned leader of this Southern University offensive attack. 10 wins this season, and he set school marks for passing yards and touchdown passes. And Bobby's had a lot of help, only 5 sacks on the season.
He earned his undergraduate degree back in August. He's taking some master's classes, and he wants to be a lawyer.
Here's Richard looking in the end zone. Has a man there. Touchdown, Southern University.
Play clock down to 3. Richard gets it off over the middle. Touchdown!
Holmes goes in motion and comes set on a 1st and 10. Richard completes it. That's Ard. Ard down the sideline. He could go. And finally pushed out of bounds. Richard's run for 10 touchdowns this season. He's going to keep it. Richard goes in. Make it 11 for Quincy Richard. Richard wide open. Touchdown, Chris Davis. Oh, does he love playing football even more now?
That in the flag against Grambling, holding on the kickoff.
Richard looking deep, and it's a touchdown.
But only 3 times did he go down. Twice he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. It goes down as a sack.
2nd and 8. The deep ball, and that's our man, Chris Davis, for the touchdown. Time for today's State Farm Players of the Game. And from Southern University, the quarterback, number 15, Quincy Richard. 34 of 42, 552 yards, 5 touchdown passes.
Quincy, on behalf of State Farm Insurance Companies, I want to present you with a trophy for the most outstanding player today. Congratulations.
All right, we're back. More of the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody. I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys with us. Wake up with some energy this morning, right? It's a little rainy down here in South Baton Rouge. Hey, no rain gonna stop nothing. We know that. The weather is good. It's still warm outside. It is the spring, and it is March Madness. As we're getting ready to head into April, but before we do that, we're talking about the NCAA tournament. And looking around at some of the brackets, I asked you guys, what do your brackets look like? Last week, we went through the first 2 rounds, the opening round, as well as round 2, the round of 32. Now we're down to Sweet 16, and today and tomorrow we'll have the Elite 8. Let's start in the South, right, in that bracket. Sweet 16, Auburn, number 1 seed, Auburn taking on number 5, Michigan. And then it was Ole Miss who found themselves all the way in the Sweet 16 against Michigan State. Now, I told you guys before, Tom Izzo and Michigan State have snuck by me this year. They were the 2 seed. They are the 2 seed. And Ole Miss was the team watching from the SEC tournament. They got past Arkansas, knocking down a 3-pointer as time expired. And then they took Auburn down to the wire in the semifinal game before getting eliminated in the SEC tournament. Now you look at the NCAA tournament. Ole Miss comes in and knocks down number 11, North Carolina. This is where the bracket got wacky for me because I had Iowa State to move on, the 3 seed, but Ole Miss beats Iowa State handily, 91-78. And then Ole Miss found themselves in a Sweet 16 matchup against Michigan State. Michigan State got it done by 73-70 over Ole Miss, and Auburn gets it done over number 5 seed Michigan, who was really tough, 78-65. So out of the South, now we have an Elite Eight matchup between number 1 seed Auburn and number 2 seed Michigan State. Now, this is where my Elite Eight kind of went bad because I had Iowa State getting all the way to the Elite Eight. I thought Iowa State was a pretty good basketball team this year. I thought them as a 3 seed had a possibility of getting this far. They did not. They let me down early on. Early on. We're talking about in the round of 32 let me down. But in the Elite Eight, number 1 Auburn taking on number 2 Michigan State in the South region. I'm going number 1 Auburn in that one. I think the number 1 seed Auburn team, especially if you watch them this year, I had a chance to go see them at a game against LSU this year. They have the length. They are very efficient at scoring, and guess what? They play defense. And in this day and age, you got to have a team that plays defense. Let's look in the West, right? My Sweet 16, 2 teams didn't make it in, but one of them I was happy they at least made it to the Sweet 16. Let's start with number 1 Florida, who made it to the Sweet 16. They took on number 4 Maryland. Now, I had Memphis getting to the Sweet 16. Memphis was not as good as I thought they were. I tried to put faith in Memphis. Memphis gets knocked out in the opening round against number 12 Colorado State, 78-70, as Memphis came into the NCAA tournament as the 5th seed. Maryland found themselves in the Sweet 16 taking on number 1 Florida. Maryland, of course, the 4th seed coming out of the West. And then the other game in the Sweet 16, number 3 seed Texas Tech taking on, Arkansas Razorbacks, who was the highest seed, left the Razorbacks the 10th seed, who had knocked off St. John and Kansas to get this far. Let's start with number 1 Florida to get the victory over number 4 Maryland, 87-71. Florida handled business. It's another team representing the SEC who went in, took care of business, and moved on. And then Texas Tech and Arkansas. Arkansas seemed like they had this game handily, right? They seemed like they had this. It was good to go. As time expires towards the end of the second half, Texas Tech battles back. They knock down a late layup, and they win this game 85-83. And I actually had St. John making it to the Sweet 16. So it was going to be the 2 seed St. John versus number 3 seed Texas Tech for me. And then in the top, it was going to be number 5 seed Memphis taking on Florida. That's where my bracket got messed up right there. But listen, Florida still made it. So now in the Elite Eight coming out of the West, I have Florida, the number 1 seed. They'll be taking on the number 3 seed Texas Tech. Raiders, I'm going Florida in this one. Once again, SEC, I think the Gators get it done. They seem like a team that is very tough to beat. Now let's go to the East. We're looking at some teams that made it to the Sweet 16. Now my East bracket pretty much worked out except for one team. Let's start at the top. The number 1 seed Duke Blue Devils taking on number 4 Arizona Wildcats. Duke broke the scoreboard of 100-93 in this ball game. And then at the bottom of that bracket of the Sweet 16, number 2 Alabama, the Crimson Tide, took on number 6 BYU. I had the number 3 Wisconsin Badgers making it that far, but Wisconsin lost to BYU 91-89, and I actually didn't even have BYU making it out the first round. I thought that was one of my upsets when they took on number 11 seed VCU, Virginia Common University. I thought VCU was going to be able to get it done, but BYU got on a hot streak. They beat VCU. They beat number 3 seed Wisconsin, but then it all came to an end against number 2 Alabama. Alabama gets the victory 113-88 over BYU, and that sets up an Elite Eight matchup in which I got right in my bracket, everybody. Number 1 Duke versus number 2 Alabama. This is the first time in my bracket where I actually have both the teams in the Elite Eight where it worked out. And that's in my East. Now, my South and West, I have one team in each one of those Elite Eight that got in. But the East looked like I got that one right. And then we look at the Midwest. Let's go to the Sweet 16. We had number 1 Houston taking on number 4 Purdue. I got that one right. 62-60, number 1 Houston, the Cougars move on. And then at the bottom of that one of the Sweet 16, number 2 Tennessee, the Volunteers. I had them make it to the Sweet 16, but it was not against Kentucky. I thought Illinois, who was the 6th seed coming into this tournament, was a really good basketball team. I had a chance to watch some games of them in non-conference. Illinois could play some ball, but they fell short in the tournament to Kentucky in the round of 32. 84-75 is the 3-seed Kentucky got past them. And then we had an all-SEC matchup in number 2 Tennessee versus number 3 Kentucky. Tennessee gets it done 78-65. And once again, I got the East and the Midwest right when it comes to the Elite Eight. Number 1 Houston taking on number 2 Tennessee. Now you see why I'm in first place in my tournament, in my bracket. Now things get a little tricky. I hope it works itself out right now. A couple teams got into the Elite Eight that I did not pick, Texas Tech being one. But then I have for my final four. Y'all ready for it? Number 1 seed Auburn wins the South. My final four, number 1 seed Florida wins the West. Then on the other side, I have number 1 seed Duke wins the East versus number 2 seed Tennessee, who wins the Midwest. I think the SEC ends up with 3 teams in the Final Four. Then I'm looking at, for a national championship, 2 number 1 seeds. I'm looking at Duke versus Auburn. And for me, watching Bruce Pearl and his Auburn team, the way they play defense, they get up the court, they create turnovers, they're efficient shooting. But Duke can do the same thing. I watched them the other night against Arizona and how they took off on Arizona. But I'm going with Auburn to win the national championship. So that is my bracket. That is my March Madness. But no Cinderellas this year. And the thing about the Cinderellas, now you're starting to see the difference of college programs being able to pay these players. When you're starting to talk about guys are already in the transfer portal right now. We talked to Coach Johnson last week. At that moment, there were 200-plus players in the transfer portal. The world of college basketball, I'm not sure moving forward if we'll be able to see those stories that we saw in the past of Cinderella teams making it to the Elite Eight and the Final Four. That just may be a thing of the past. Because now the players are going to take the money, and wherever the money is, it's going to typically lead to the big programs with the big names. And what's interesting enough, a few years ago, talking about the SEC, and this is some of the conversation I like to have in that same sense when we're talking about the SWAC. The SEC 10 years ago was not a basketball league. Nobody gave a damn about SEC basketball 10 years ago. It was the Big 12, and it was the ACC. Those were your 2 conferences. The SEC came together with the commissioner, the athletic directors, boosters, and presidents and said, we have to invest in our basketball programs. We have to go out and we got to get qualified coaches around the board. We got to get the best athletes. And we got to pump money into facilities and everything else when it comes to basketball. And you saw over the course of a decade, what happened to that conference? They went out and hired good coaches. They brought in the talent, and they started to pump money into it. And that's why you had so many teams from the SEC this year making it into the NCAA tournament. That's why you heard about the SEC in the top 25 and the amount of teams that they had this year in college basketball. It was the investment that they decided to go in, and now it has paid off in SEC basketball. The same could be said for baseball as well. And I bring that back over to say the same thing with the SWAC as I get ready to close this hour out. We'll close this segment out. We have to be able to make those type of investments. As a whole, as a conference, we have to make those investments in order to ensure that us as a conference move forward and are better. And I'm going to bring that back full circle a little bit later in the show when I bring up to you and talk about the MEAC, because right now the MEAC may be in some trouble with the possibility of some schools thinking about leaving. And we'll talk about that as it all comes full circle about investing. How do you take it to the next level? So let's get ready to take a break. When I come back on the other side, I'm going to have Southern University head softball coach Brittany Williams, come on. We're going to talk about the softball team, their weekend series with Grambling this weekend and what has happened due to weather, and looking forward into the season as we continue to push forward. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back. Stay tuned. More of the Jaguar Journal.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
T.R. Ricks is a fifth-year senior who's getting his first chance to drive the train that Bob talked about. And right now, he's driving it quite well because the Southern Jaguars are kicking butt in the SWAC conference. As Bob mentioned, 6-0 overall in the SWAC, and T.R. Ricks has played so well, over 2,000 yards passing. In the last 3 games running the football, he's been over 100 yards on the ground. The respect factor that he gets from his teammates is incredible. As a fifth-year senior who's never started, they elected him captain. And the numbers he has put up are represented on your screen. 27 total touchdowns on the offense, a pass percentage of nearly 60%. He could be the SWAC Player of the Year on the offensive side.
Best, and they're going to get a huge dose of the best offensive player in the SWAC, and that being Thomas Ricks.
Yeah, what Thomas Ricks has found a way to do is just beat defenses either with his arm, with his feet, or with his leadership capabilities, finding a way to win the games late with fourth-quarter comebacks. He showed versatility and athleticism. He's a tremendous athlete that knows how to win, most importantly.
Really is a leader both on and off the field.
I just think it has come to a maturity level. I have a 4-year-old son, and, when he was born, I had to grow up fast, and, just staying in school and practicing every day, trying to get better every day, just so he can have a better future. It's just been my inspiration. So, I just think that's my motor that drives me and, keeps me in the game.
His 4-year-old son, Collier, has not missed a game this season. They throw the football around in Rick's dorm room at Southern, and he says it's great playing football with Collier. 1st and 10. Ricks. He's got Vernon. Vernon makes the catch at the 45.
They can run the entire offense with all those guys in the game.
Ricks to Vernon. 1st down. Holmes in the backfield. Ricks. 1st down. Gage on the tackle, but not until Ricks picks up the 1st down. 2nd and 7. Ricks. Overstreet's got it. Across midfield. Ricks has a receiver downfield. It's caught for a touchdown. Territory. Ricks fakes the pitch. Gets inside the 15.
He's in the type of young men that represent his philosophy in life and in football.
Ricks in a shotgun. He's going to run it out to the 10. And 2nd and 11 after the holding penalty. Sidearm toss. And
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody out there listening to Baton Rouge, Capital City area on Talk 107.3 FM. Glad to have you guys with us. And everybody are watching all across the world, the United States, and everywhere else on our YouTube and Facebook Live. Glad to have you guys with us. Be sure to go hit that subscribe button, like, and follow, and just tune in because we got a very special guest this morning. Want to welcome her to the show because she's no stranger, but she is the head softball coach at Southern University, Coach Brittany Williams. Good morning, Coach Williams.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Jag Nation.
That's that energy I like now. It's 7:30 in the morning. I know sometimes we can be but I like that energy. That's what we need to get us going, especially from the coach. Because sometimes the players are a little sluggish in the morning. They may not want to stretch, work out. Coach, we ain't feeling it. But you got to bring the energy. And you have brought the energy to this softball team right now on the season. You guys are 12 and 15 overall, 4 and 5 in conference play. You're on a 2-game win streak. But most importantly, what I like about this, you guys have defended home, 4 and 1 at home, defending right there in Jaguar land. What have you seen from this team as you continue to try to change the culture and get this team headed in the right direction for this softball program?
Oh, man, I'm glad you mentioned that home record because my team definitely feeds off energy. So for our first series against UAPB, we had the soccer team out there because we honored Coach Fontenot as Coach of the Year. So they brought their whole squad out there, and, they were cheering almost louder than we were. So, and then that was like maybe like a 12 o'clock game, you know. So for them to come out there and support us and cheer with us, it brought all the energy. So we're continuing to ask our fans to check our schedule, see when we play at home, because the team needs you.
Yeah, you talking about against UAPB, my mom's alma mater. You guys got the series. You won 4-0, 7-3, fell short in that third game, 2-0. Then you took on Alcorn, got the victory at Alcorn, 17-4, 11-3, fell short in that third game of the series, 3-2. Took on Texas Southern. Didn't quite go the way we wanted. Texas Southern got the better, and that's always a tough one for Southern and Texas Southern. Every time I've seen Texas Southern softball, it seemed like they bring it when they play Southern.
Yes, it was a difficult time. I mean, we played hard, and those were heartbreaking losses. Man, we lost each one of them by one run. Majority of the game were up 2, so to come back and lose by one run, that hurt. But I know it humbled my team. We have very good defense, very good offense. So what that allowed us to do was increase our offense. So these past couple of weeks, I mean, we've been hitting because one run losses, one little bunt or one little move somebody over will change the outcome of the game.
And you guys currently have beaten Louisiana Christian University this past week. You beat them 8-0, 2-0. Then you had a weekend series this weekend with Grambling. Talk about the weather impact and what that's done with your series against Grambling State this weekend.
Man, I waited to the last minute to make sure that we weren't going to be able to play this weekend. Reason being, we had some high school teams coming out, local high school teams. And when you have 2 Louisiana schools playing against each other, we try to invite all local high schools around so you guys can see what D1 looks like, with 2 choices that allow you to stay in state. So when we replay that series in April, we put out the same invitation for people to come out and watch us compete, because it's always a battle between us and Grambling. So having to push that back, it hurt, but I mean, God has his plans.
Let's look at this team now. Let's start to talk about some of the individual players of this team and wake us up to what's going on with the softball team as we go around learning the names of these young ladies and some of the accomplishments that they've been able to have.
Yeah, so one of the ones that sticks out the most to me is Alana Mark. She's this is her senior year, batting 400 in conference on the season, and she just hit her 150 career hit mark. So we are celebrating her, and we're cheering her on and supporting her in this moment. And it's also weird with female athletes sometimes. You get those accolades, and they feel more pressure. So just allowing her to continue to be happy about her award and to continue to push forward and see what else we can get. Miranda Rolden has also been a excellent person on the mound for us this year. This is really like her breakout season. She is leading our staff in strikeouts and keeping us in those one-run ball games. Her ERA is less than 2 on the season, which is, amazing, and not too many SWAC pitchers have that type of ERA. So she's definitely standing out for us. And we have some stellar defense at third base. Lonnie, she is a vacuum over there. Anything over there, she gets. Against LCU, someone hit a line drive down third baseline. I mean, she dove for it, got up on her knees, and threw the runner at first out, like with a double play. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm your fan. So, love watching these girls play. Love pushing them forward and watching them grow and seeing them hit marks that they didn't even realize they could believe.
I got to ask, because when I come to the games and I hear nobody chants more than a softball team. What else? How did they come up with these chants with the different names? And it's so much. So I'm like, that has to have a practice within itself.
It does. So rainy days, and sometimes if there's no rain, I'll take them off the field and we'll go practice. Each person needs a cheer. We need a cheer for each out that comes along. We need a cheer for when we have 2 strikes on someone. There's a double cheer. So if someone hits a double, they get on base and they tell them to do their dance. So they each got to have a dance to show off. I mean, it's an entertainment business, as well as it gets the team hyped. It gets them going and it keeps them engaged. Like softball is a long game. Each game is 2 hours. So when you have those little cues, we call it the game within the game, it keeps you focused.
And it keeps me entertained because I'm like, man, I hear stuff. I'm like, where the hell did they learn that shit? Like, how do you come? That is some of the most creative chants that you could hear. Let's look around at the SWAC softball stand. Let's start in the SWAC East. Let's start at the bottom. Mississippi Valley right now winless in conference play, 0-10, 2-22 on the season, currently on a 5-game losing streak. Right above them, Alabama State, who's 4-6 in conference, 6-26 overall on the season. Alabama A&M, 5-5 in conference play, 14-6 in conference play. Then you see Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. Bethune-Cookman 6-3 on the season, Florida and 13-21 on the season, and Florida A&M 7-3 and 11-16 overall. And at the top of the SWAC East is Jackson State, who is 7-2 in conference play. That's 17-11 overall. And then we look over in the SWAC West, Alcorn State at the bottom of the SWAC softball standings in the West, 1-10 in conference play. That's 6-19 overall. Right above them, UAPB, who you've already got season series wins over both these programs. Golden Lions 3-6 in conference play, 8-19 overall. Right above them, Southern University 4-5 in conference play, 12-15 overall on the season. With Grambling, who we're going to take on this weekend in the series until it got moved. They're 4-4 in conference play, 11-17 on the season. Then Texas Southern and Prairie View, the Texas schools, are the top of the SWAC West. Texas Southern 7-2 in conference play. Prairie View 9-1 in conference play, 15-13 overall. Currently riding a 5-game win streak, the longest win streak, along with Grambling right now in the conference. Let's start in the SWAC West, where you guys call home against these teams. Prairie View and Texas seem to be right there. Then it's you and Grambling right there behind them.
Yes, this is an interesting part of the season. So we're getting into the part where we call the middle of the season. So we have PV and Grambling just once this season. And then you start getting into the cycle of playing the same teams that you played already twice. So that is always fun. That's when coaching really gets involved, who can better prepare their team for those series. So we're looking forward to turning it around. We definitely have a schedule that will allow us to, jump up in those rankings. We just have to do our part.
Looking at Prairie View and Jackson State, who respectfully are at the top of the SWAC East and West, what about those programs and their coach where they seem to be the division leaders right now? What is creating success for those programs that you can see from afar?
I definitely know Coach Bland. He's great. He's a great recruiter as well. He's coached pro ball over the summer, so his girls are well prepared. I believe that both of those teams have offense that set them apart from the rest of the SWAC. They definitely have a hitting philosophy that's been working for both of their teams. And we're looking to face, we have the number one defense, so we're looking to face the number one offense this coming week. So we'll see what that matchup looks like.
Yeah, matchups coming up this week. You guys take on Louisiana State University, Alexandria on Tuesday in a 2-game series. You got 3 o'clock and 5:30, and then you guys are going to be at Prairie View, the number one team in the SWAC West right now, taking on Prairie View Friday and Saturday. First, and hey, where are our Southern fans at out in Houston? You better get over there and support Coach Williams and his team as they taking on the top team in the SWAC West. Looking ahead at Prairie View, man, what does that matchup look like? You got a weekend off since this has been moved with Grambling, but you're looking ahead now, preparing not only for LSU Alexandria, but as well as Prairie View. And I know coaches say we take it one game at a time, one series at a time, but still, we know they're on the schedule. You have to go on the road. That seems like that's going to be a tough place to try to go get some victories.
Yes, it always is tough when we go there. We're always in the game, and then something happens, we spiral out of it. But this team is a seasoned team. They're mentally strong. They're well prepared. They know what they're up against. And that fear factor isn't there. Sometimes, the number one team kind of already just has that fear factor, which allows them to continue to stay on top. A prime example would be Jackson State, who won last year, and they're on top on their side. And PV, who has won our side since the last 3 years that I've been here. But the kids that I have, they are ready to face that challenge. And they know that if they want to succeed and push forward, that this is a game that they're going to have to come in and win.
Coach, I got to ask you this, and I'm always curious when it comes to coaching. What have you been learning about yourself in coaching collegiate softball and just realize, through trial and error as you go through each season, each year, through recruiting, through coaching in the game? What are you learning about yourself and as you continue to evolve as a coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the main thing I learned is to keep talking. So, for example, sometimes it takes them a little longer to comprehend what you're saying, and you're like, oh man, they're not listening, or they don't understand, or I didn't explain this well, or they're just being defiant. They don't want to do what you're asking them to do. But it's year 3. This was last year when I realized, they're listening. You look up and you teach them things like, this is how you steal third. This is what you do if you want to steal second. And it took them a while to get it. And then you look up and then they're standing up. And then standing up on third, which I love. And then this year, I've really seen it. I'll be getting ready to come and, correct a player or kind of help them with something that maybe they didn't do properly. And then before I can get to them, one of the seniors has said something. And I'm like, well, I have nothing to say because I don't like to double jeopardy for a mistake. So if someone else tells you, then we're good. We're going to keep rolling. So this year, even during games, I'll come to the huddle to say something, and then they got it. So if you ever come and watch us play, you'll see me walk by the huddle, and I'm like, well, they said what I needed to say. So I would say what I've learned is to keep talking. You might seem like it might seem as though what you're saying doesn't register, or they're not picking it up, but they're on their own time. And then if you keep loving them and supporting them, they're going to play for you. So
you have such a sweet voice. I just can't even imagine you yelling at anybody. Do you ever have to raise your voice and it makes the whole team turn around and look like, all right, Coach serious today?
Yeah, if I do yell, they look at me crazy. I'll say this was PSC series. We had bases were loaded. The ball was hit to the pitcher, and she went 4. We normally go 4-1 to get the double play. So we had called a timeout before then, so my assistant coach had kind of changed the directory that we were going. So I got up, I'm like, 4-1, and they all looked at me, and I was like, something's wrong, because they're looking at me like I'm crazy. And then it makes me calm down. I'm like, I'm not helping them in this moment. So when they give me that look, I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to chill out.
It's all good. Sometimes you got to get that look, and sometimes you got to raise your voice to make sure everybody heard you. And looking forward to this program. What else do you guys have going on? Any fundraisers, anything currently that you guys are working on?
Yes. So we are in Jagathon. I know it officially started. It was a day situation, but we have it going on for the weekend, probably throughout the week. Our players have set up an online platform. So if you go to any one of their social media sites, or if you message us on social media, we can send you a donation link. And we will take your donations and bring it to Jagathon. So, which, in turn goes to us. So we ask that you guys follow us on social media, find the QR code, and donate to our program. We truly need it.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on this weekend. What you going to do now with Grambling series being moved? What you doing this weekend?
Man, I don't know. It's crazy.
Y'all gonna work on some chants or something this weekend? What we doing?
Well, I gave them the weekend off. It's raining, and I told them, to self-reflect, like take some self-care time, and we'll be back at it again on Monday.
Well, Coach, as always, congratulations for what you're doing right now. You're talking about creating that culture, and you're starting to see it, as you say. You're getting that culture when the seniors step up and start to correct things without Coach having to say things. So that means you're headed in the right direction. So, Coach, thank you for coming on this morning. And for everybody out there, the weekend series with Grambling has been moved to a later date due to the weather, the possibility of the rain in the area this weekend. But Coach Williams and the softball team will be in Alexandria coming up, taking on LSU Alexandria this on Tuesday. And then they'll move on to take on Prairie View next weekend. So all of our Jaguar fans out there in Houston, be sure to go over to Prairie View and support the Southern University softball team and Coach Williams as they take on the top team in the SWAC West, Prairie View. Coach, thank you for coming on this morning. Enjoy your weekend. Find something to do this weekend.
Will do.
All right. That's the voice of Coach Brittany Williams the head softball coach at Southern University. Let's get ready to take a break, everybody. We'll come back and we'll continue to keep going with the Jaguar Journal, all right?
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
Talk about offense, we talk about Southern, and it begins with their passing game.
Tom, beyond potent, we're talking about high octane, we're talking about fast break, we're talking about 41 points a game, some 500 plus yards since Terrence Levy has taken over this offense.
Because that young man doesn't drop any ball.
With the legacy that you started here, you got to feel happy to see it continue on with Doug Williams.
Ball now back at the 22-yard line. Levy, no pressure at all. Touchdown, Ingram. The Bayou Classic. Levy on a first and goal play. Throws a touchdown. Grambling comes with a blitz. Levy steps in the pocket. And his pass is caught. One-handed grab.
Sort of in the middle of the road of the SWAC, but immediately they jump on the Jackson State defense. And here's Levy rolling out. And the pass is caught. Ball is at the 31-yard line. Again, throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver, Hayes, makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. If you're going to get, I got some free tickets. Look out for it, brother. Going downfield. Oh, and what a play by Southern.
Score. He's played a lot tougher ever since. And it's a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
pass.
It's
a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside the 10, the 5. Unbelievable, Michael Hayes. 3rd down. 23 for a first. Levy over the middle. Nice pass that time. 2nd and 20. Levy doesn't have to get it all, but he's going to have to pick up some yards. Here he is throwing. Nice catch made.
The receiver, Michael Hayes. There he goes.
Hayes makes the catch. Hayes still on his feet. Hayes looking for blocking. Hayes trying to find a hole. Hayes is still on his feet. He alley-oops. He's inside the 15 and drawn out a foul.
Touchdown.
Backfield. Plenty of time for Levy across the middle. Has his man at the 15. You know, I don't know if you want to break the spirit of Terrence Levy or not. Here he wings one wide open down the middle and a one-handed grab made.
The way. 3rd down and 4. And here's Lewis off the catch. Lewis still on his feet. And Lewis is streaking down the sideline. Touchdown. So they move back 5.
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you guys with us listening into the Baton Rouge capital city area on Talk 107.3. And everybody listening out there on YouTube and Facebook, glad to have you guys with us. Glad to have had Coach Brittany Williams, their series, softball series, Southern softball series with Grambling this weekend, moved to a later date, later down in the season because of the inclement weather possibility here in South Louisiana this weekend. So, you know, thank her for coming on this morning, man. Appreciate her for being on, man. She did a great job, and she's doing a great job with that program and moving forward. Listen, have y'all went and subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? You better. Please. Just go on YouTube, type in the Jaguar Journal, and hit that subscribe button, man. We'd love to have you as a follower, as well as on our X and Instagram. You can type in the Jaguar Journal _ We're on Facebook, of course, at the Jaguar Journal. And then you go back and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everything else, man. We just want your support. We continuously growing it. I'm going to tell you, that piece with Chris Nakamoto took us up. We went through the roof with the subscribers and the people who said, I didn't even know. I'm glad I found out about this page. And see, the thing about it is, there are a lot of loyal supporters who have been listening to the Jaguar Journal well before Perry White ever even stepped foot in this radio station to do this show. This show has been around for 20 plus years. There have been many who have come and have gone who have kept the tradition of this show going. And so what I realized when I first started doing this show, there were a lot of longtime listeners But now we're trying to grow in the realm of people who may not have known about this show, because I'll be honest with you, it's real fickle when it comes to Southern fans and what they listen to and the type of information that they take in. To consider how big our fan base is, it's really hard to really get into our fan base and to get that support. And that's an honest story, because I talk about it all the time. We have a lot of fans who love the school, but they may not necessarily just love to hear a show just talking about information. They just want to come to the events, come to the games, and those types of things, which that's okay. But as we continue to try to grow the show, we want people to find out about this so we can continue to be able to put out information, create a platform where you can call in or put in the comment section about your thoughts, your opinions, how you feel. And that's the whole purpose of trying to grow this thing, because we keep trying to put us in a realm of an area where we weren't at before. This was simply a radio show, and it has simply been a radio show, and it's going to continue to be a radio show for 20 plus years and counting. But now we're moving into the age of digital media and social media and trying to open and broaden our horizons, because one thing about it with this show, if you're local, you got us on 107.3. If you're not local, you miss us, and it's hard to go back. So we had to create the YouTube channel, the Facebook, and everything else so you guys can watch and stay entertained with the information no matter where you at, so you can remain informed. And the other part was, even with the people that are local, if you don't catch us live, I know 7 to 9 a.m. is tough for a lot of people on a Saturday where you want to chill and you want to relax. So this gives an opportunity for people to go back and watch it, because trust me, you know how many times I was going somewhere on a Saturday and said, man, I missed the show this morning, or I caught it. I just tuned in at 8:45. I have missed the show. Now you can go back and listen and watch and share it with anybody or anything that you hear from this show. So let's get ready to take a break. We're going to the top of the hour. We come back on the other side. We're going to talk some Southern University spring football with the defensive coordinator, Coach Henry Miller. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back. More to Jaguar Journal.
Quarter with Jackson State leading 10-3. Ball's at the 31-yard line. Again, throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver, Hayes, makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. And every time you think Southern struggles, they come back, they make a play. They've done it all year long. Kick is up. Kick is good. Second down and a yard to go. Again, they give it to Lewis. Lewis finds room. Lewis still on his feet. Lewis making a move to the outside. He's inside the 25, the 10, the 5. What a run by Ryan Lewis. 69-yard run for Ryan Lewis. And how about this? Kicks up, kicks good. Halftime, George Johnson along with Charles Mann. Southern trailed in this football game 10-7. Then they reel off 14 straight points, and they do it with the big plays.
And that's something that we didn't think would happen, at least from Southern's perspective. They've been able to methodically go down the field on people and win ball games, not the big plays. You saw the big play by Ryan Lewis running 69 yards, the nice throw by Terrence Levy. This is something that I don't think Jackson State thought they would see in Southern either, and they go into halftime down by 7 points.
Jackson State came in the best defense out of the SWAC. And if you take a look at the highlights, you will see that this club, and I'm talking about Southern, was really able to capitalize on a couple of miscues, and the big plays are the result of it.
And this is Daniel Guy with a nice stiff arm to Bradley Pittman there. And he runs that ball 36 yards inside for a touchdown and makes it 7-3. And then Terrence Levy, quarterbacking, throws a big bomb to Michael Hayes, who gets by Rashard Anderson and waltzes into the end zone for a 69-yard reception. And then the big run by Ryan Lewis, a scat back for Southern, races 69 yards for the score. And that's where it stands right now, 17-10. Southern is on top.
Passing leaders in the conference, Lionel Hayes from Grambling, your top passer. Washington second, but he's intercepted right there. This time the inside handoff,
and the ball was dropped, and Tommy Head.
Here's Taylor. in the pocket, looking downfield, and looking for Leroy Fields, and this one looks intercepted, and it is.
He's played a lot tougher ever since. And this is a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
It's
pass.
a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside the 10, the 5. Unbelievable Michael Hayes. Hayes now with 187 yards receiving. 169-yard touchdown, 181-yard touchdown.
And Southern's came up with all the big plays.
They lead by 14. And that one is intercepted by Darden. Darden looking for some room, and Guyon will finally drag him down. But we start the 4th right after this. 2nd down and 20 after the penalty.
Oh, he's got a man wide open.
Going into the corner. Touchdown! Reynolds attempting the point after. It's good. A 32-yard field goal. Kick is up. Kick is good.
This is a great football game.
We knew it would be, though. Torrey Thigpen got us out of our seats.
And this is the punt return by Torrey Thigpen. We were just talking about we haven't seen him. He breaks 2 tackles and runs up the sideline. He has great blocking, but gets pushed out of bounds on about the 1 yard line.
And touchdown Jackson State.
The game is a game of momentum swings. Snap is good. The kick is up.
On driver. Yes, sir.
The ball up to the big receiver, Michael Hayes. There he goes.
Hayes makes the catch. Hayes still on his feet. Hayes looking for blocking. Hayes trying to find a hole. Hayes is still on his feet. He alley-oops. He's inside the 15 and drawn out of bounds at the 10-yard line. An I formation. Oh! Fumble Levy. He kicks it and falls on top of it.
Touchdown. Receiver that has not seen much action comes up big.
1st and 10. Washington over the middle, intercepted. On his own play of the game is Michael Hayes with 8 receptions, 266 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And that was
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody. We're at the top of the hour. Glad to have you guys with us. I'm Perry White. Good morning to everybody listening locally on Talk 107.3 FM here in the Baton Rouge capital city area, and everybody out there listening across the United States and the world on our YouTube and Facebook. It is football. We're spring, so when you put that together, spring football, right? And nobody better than to talk about it as we get ready to talk about Southern University spring football and give you guys an update. Then Southern University defensive coordinator, my man, Coach Henry Miller. Good morning, Coach Miller.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. White. How you doing, my brother?
Doing good, man. Glad to have you with us this morning. Look, I try to inform the people about all the other sports. We try to talk softball, baseball, basketball. They want to talk football 24/7, and I'm sure you as a defensive coordinator, when you get around Southern fans, the football questions don't stop.
It never stops. It never stops. But, you know, I keep things in perspective. I tell them that, hey, man, I'm here to cheer on whatever sport I'm there cheering on, and we'll talk football when it's that time to talk football.
And you guys do cheer because when I went to the softball game, you and the coaching staff were there supporting the softball team, man. First of all, just talk about supporting the other athletic programs of the school and going out and showing support to those coaches and players.
That's right. We want a big family. You know, we want to support one another. You know, we want to make sure, you know, their sports come and support us. So we want to make sure that we transport that energy right back to the other sports.
Spring football is here. You guys got underway on Thursday, and we look at a Southern University defense in which you've been running over the past few years, who ranked 3rd in the SWAC last year overall, and then in rushing. You guys were the 5th best rush defense in the conference in passing. On the other side, you guys were the 8th passing defense. Excuse me, not the 8th. You guys were the 1st in pass defense in the conference. So you're talking about top-tier defense in this conference. Looking at last year, and you're talking about that defense, what did you evaluate once the season ended and looking at your defense?
I just think that, you know, we need to get bigger material. You know, we need to get more. You know, we get play against the elite teams in our league. You know, those bodies become very, very important. because most of those teams want to grind and be physical. So we need guys, we need bodies that we can be physical with. And coming out of that game, we went straight to work, and we started trying to get guys that can fit on our defensive line.
Let's start here. We coming into the spring and we looking defensive. We had Coach Mark Frederick on last week talking to us about the offense. So when we returned for the spring, what do we lose, whether it was a senior transfer portal or whatever else? What do we lose from this defense, and what guys were they?
And that's what the thing is. This spring ain't going to tell the whole story because, people graduated, and the defensive tackles are the positions that we needed to upgrade. But those guys won't be here in May. But it gives us a chance to see on the team, evaluate the guys on the team and see where they fit at in all this. So, it gives us enough time to evaluate what we got on the team, and then get ready for the guys that's coming in early June.
Any one of those seniors that you hate to see go that's graduating that's been integral in terms of your defense?
Yeah, Harry. I wish Darius Harry had one more year.
Yeah.
He was a great compliment to Givens.
Yeah, Harry played huge in that Bayou Classic against Grambling, man. It was like they was calling his name along with Givens every other play. And looking at this coming into the spring, you circle biggest area of emphasis for you coming into this spring to try to and going into the fall that you want to improve on with this defense?
Just getting bigger and faster up front. Making sure that we have the proper linebackers in place that play the way we want to play, physical. And secondary. The secondary is a big important part of our defense. We got to be able to cover. So I think that if we can just improve in every position on every tier, from the front to the back, we'll be right back in the position we want to be in.
Coach, let's look at that D-line and then we'll move out. Who do we have returning on defensive line that has shown up so far for spring football?
Well, of course, you already know that, Givens, Zach, Wallace, guys like that is coming along, which help us out. Got another guy we just signed, came in January, Kai Brown. Those guys were very important to what we're doing right now and have them here now. We'll still understand that, the meal is not going to get done, be done until June. The cornbread's in the oven. We still cooking.
The cornbread in the oven. I like, what is it? Hot water, is it Jiffy? What we eating?
Hey, man. Hey, I'm just trying to put it together, man. When it come out, just wanted to be tasty.
Let me ask you about Givens, who is the co-defensive player of the year, who I thought he should have won it outright. But what is it like being able to coach a guy like Givens, Kelby Givens, and because he gives so much, he's a leader. And then when you see him out the football field, man, he's just a very calm guy. But when he gets on the football field, get out his way. What is it like for you as the defensive coordinator to be able to coach a guy who brings so much to the table for your Southern defense?
And first, I just want to make sure I give him all his flowers. He was HBCU Gold Defensive Player of the Year, and he also finished second to FCS National Defensive Player of the Year. He lost out by one sack. So Givens is not only one of the great players in the SWAC, Givens is one of the great players in FCS in the country right now.
What is it like coaching Givens? Day to day when you running through developing this guy, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, developing. What has that been like for you to watch him develop as the ball player that he is?
First of all, he wants to get better. He wants to be great. His work ethic is just unbelievable. And if you're on the team and you see a guy like that working the way you are, then you don't have no other choice but to work. He don't say nothing. He just works. And then when he do say something, everybody listens because they shout. So if he's saying something, it must be important.
It better be important. He gonna get you. He gonna get you on point and in line. And I've seen him work, man. And then that's looking at our D line. All right, let's move to the middle of the pack. Let's go to our linebackers, man. Who is returned for spring football, and what do we look like at that linebacker position?
Now, the linebacker position is a bit solid. And of course we have Vincent Page. We have Jamelo Campbell, and we have Mike Jones. And then, of course, we got a couple of guys that we signed that are going to be here in May. But those three guys along with the younger guys, Baptiste and those guys, they're really a good, solid linebacker, size, strength, and speed.
And then we go to the defensive back. Your team was number 1 in pass defense in the SWAC last year. 7 interceptions on the season, a few more that would drop, but nonetheless, it was tough to pass the ball against Southern last year. Talk about that secondary, who returns, and who you're looking forward to developing up this spring.
Well, fortunate for us, losing a guy like Rodney, really hurt us. But once again, having the 3-corner rotation helped us. So when you look at the people that's coming back, everybody that's played, everybody that contributed to being the number 1 defense and pass defense in the conference, and the number 1 and the number 4 passing defense in the country. So you have Brewster coming back, you have Horatio Johnson coming back, you have Elijah West coming back, you have Xavier Spencer, and then Eric Reed. Eric Reed.
And I must say, on behalf of, when I look at what you guys have done, a body of work with your defense, we've seen the up and down of Southern's offense. But listen, the Jaguar Nation know they love Coach Miller, because it seems like it's been Southern's defense game in and game out, whether it has bailed the team out or whether it has kept the team in those games, as we watch offense trying to find his foot, trying to develop, trying to get that guy, trying to, musical chairs at this position, that position. One thing about it, Southern's defense comes to play each and every Saturday.
Yeah, and like that, Lamar Kendrick sound, P. White.
Yeah,
it's not enough. It's just not enough.
Coach, when you look at your defensive philosophy, who was it for you where you became a student of the game and wanted to learn, and ultimately got in that position of being a coordinator and having looked back? Where did you get your philosophy from it? And for you, who did you look up to when it came to being a defensive coordinator?
That's a good question, because I played for Northern Arizona University. There, of course, I was one of the best defensive backs that came through there. And so they had this guy named, Dave and Paul are Slaney. Okay. Their dad was a big-time coach in Utah. So when I finished playing, Paul Arslaney, which was my defense coordinator, brought me aboard and started a college football. He gave me my first college coaching job. And there I learned schemes from him, most of it that I played in, but he showed me how to break down film. He showed me how to put together a game plan when I was a young guy, because he told me that I was going to be a good football coach one day. I was a young kid, then 20-something years old. So I leave Utah, and then I met one of the most inspiring coaches that I ever met, and that's Pete Richardson. And when I met Pete Richardson, showed me all the little tangible things, the detailed things about the sport. And then I had the opportunity to coach under More Forte, Monty Coleman. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All those people influenced me in my coaching, and they all was great coaches. And influence, and Monty Coleman, the people don't know Monty Coleman, played 15, 16 years in the NFL, so he understood football. He was a good man. He was a great man. And More Forte coached in the NFL, coached some of the greatest people, Barry Sanders, Sammy Wiseman. So I was just blessed to be under a lot of good coaches that understood football.
Then you get the opportunity to be a defensive coordinator, and then it is your system. What is your scheme? What do you like about the defense that you put out there on the field? What is it about the scheme that you constantly remain with?
We got to be consistent at being consistent, and as long as we playing by the the things that we built our defense with, we're going to always be consistent. Play smart, play fast, play physical. That's it. If you're doing those three things, you're going to always be consistent in how we want to play the game of football here at Southern University.
And, Coach, I got to ask, because you look at the realm of college football, it has evolved. We see now the dual-threat quarterback is in action on offense, and defensive schemes had to then adjust to be able to account for it, along with the RPO offense, the run-pass option. There's so much in the game that continues to evolve in college football that we see today. For you, the way defense has to evolve then to counter that, what have you seen as a coach to continue to evolve for that and keep your defense being able to contain those running quarterbacks and being able to keep the perimeter?
Well, of course, that's why you go to these clinics and you want to talk to other defensive coordinators in certain leagues that have the same type of problem we have with running quarterbacks. And you just want to, compare notes and see what people are doing now, because that's what offensive coordinators are doing. So the key is, we know that now offense is trying to make it 11 or 9-man football game. If I let the quarterback run, that means I got an extra blocker with the running back. And now the defense is weakened because their extra defender is playing pass. So now you got to figure out how you can, combat that.
Yeah.
And still be strong in the back end. And, it's revolving to that type of thing, especially with the RPO. All of that is part of the deal. I'm going to run my quarterback, then get my RPO. So you got to be smart about what you're doing, and you got to play fast. You got to be able to react. And then when you get there, you just got to be physical. You got to make a play.
You got to make that tackle, one-on-one.
You got to make a play. You got to make it, because that's what the RPO does. It puts you in a one-on-one battle. And we got to win our one-on-one battle at least 60% of the time. Because if we're doing that, at least we're passing.
Well, Coach, man, I know you got a busy day ahead of you in spring football. You got things going on. I thank you for taking the time to come on and talk to me this morning and letting the Jaguar Nation and everybody else get a chance to hear your voice and know things are rocking and rolling over at Southern University, getting ready for spring football. What is this, going into day 3? You guys started Thursday, so is this day 3?
Yes, sir.
So day 3 into spring football. Coach, thank you for coming on this morning, man. And trust me, it won't be the last time you're on. We'll be continuing to talk about as things unfold during the spring, and we look forward towards the fall to get those people to buy those tickets to get ready for the 2025 football season.
Like I said, man, every year we have the same dream, and the same dream is to be national champ. We've been there 2, 3 years. We're going to kick the door in. I read the other day, a coach was in our situation. He said when they lost, first thing he told his players, hey, we're at the door, and we kicking it. And God damn it, next year we're going to kick it in. And I feel the same damn way.
Yes, sir. Ain't nothing like experience. Thank you, Coach, for coming on this morning, man. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have a blessed day as well.
Yes, sir. That is the voice of Coach Henry Miller, Southern University defensive coordinator. Let's get ready to take a break. We come back on the other side. We're going to talk about the MEAC. Is the MEAC in trouble? Let's put some question marks behind that and have a conversation, all right? And if they are in trouble, what does that mean for the SWAC moving forward and the Celebration Bowl? We'll talk more about that. You guys stay tuned. More of the Jaguar Journal.
Quincy Richard is the quarterback. And, Don, this is a man who's really changed his game from last season, and he's a graduate student as well.
Yes, he has, Bob. Quincy Richard has matured into the unquestioned leader of this Southern University offensive attack. 10 wins this season, and he set school marks for passing yards and touchdown passes. And Bobby's had a lot of help, only 5 sacks on the season.
He earned his undergraduate degree back in August. He's taking some master's classes, and he wants to be a lawyer.
Here's Richard looking in the end zone. Has a man there. Touchdown, Southern University.
Play clock down to 3. Richard gets it off over the middle. Touchdown!
Holmes goes in motion and comes set on a 1st and 10. Richard completes it. That's Ard. Ard down the sideline. He could go. And finally pushed out of bounds. Richard's run for 10 touchdowns this season. He's going to keep it. Richard goes in. Make it 11 for Quincy Richard. Richard wide open. Touchdown, Chris Davis. Oh, does he love playing football even more now?
That in the flag against Grambling, holding on the kickoff.
Richard looking deep, and it's a touchdown.
But only 3 times did he go down. Twice he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. It goes down as a sack.
2nd and 8. The deep ball, and that's our man, Chris Davis, for the touchdown. Time for today's State Farm Players of the Game. And from Southern University, the quarterback, number 15, Quincy Richard. 34 of 42, 552 yards, 5 touchdown passes.
Quincy, on behalf of State Farm Insurance Companies, I want to present you with a trophy for the most outstanding player today. Congratulations.
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody. I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys listen. Shout out to everybody listening around the Baton Rouge Capital City area and the region on Talk 107.3 FM this morning. Glad to have you guys with us and everybody else watching across the world, United States, whatever, on our Facebook and our YouTube. Be sure to go hit that subscribe button on our YouTube. It costs nothing. Don't need to know your social security number. I don't need to know how many kids you got in the house. I don't need to know none of that. Just your support and love. Hit that button. And for everybody on our Facebook Live, hit that like and follow button. Glad to have you guys with us this morning. We're going to continue the conversation. I want to thank Southern University defensive coordinator, Coach Henry Miller, coming on, giving us an update about what's going on with the defense, who ranked 3rd in the conference last year, 1st in pass defense and 5th in rush defense. Now, as we continue to talk about black college sports, let's take a look over on the East Coast and talking about the MEAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And nobody better to have this conversation than who pretty much broke this story. And this is my man, Aubryon Scott, a.k.a. Off Script. What's up, Scotty?
What's going on, Pete? It's Brian, not Aubryon.
Well, you know, it's it's apple. Well, it's tomato. Say it for me. Say it for the people again.
Brian.
See, I'm just used to calling you Scotty. So, Brian Scott. I got to give your real name, your government name. You okay with that?
I'm perfectly fine with it. My mom is pretty much happy with it.
My man, Scotty, what's up with it, man?
Man, what's good? How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Good, man. Just chilling, man. Waking up. I don't know how you do this, boy. I don't. Every time I come on here, I be like, I don't know how this thing would do it every time.
Don't nobody understand how I do it. You know, for 2 hours on a Saturday morning, man. And I like to enjoy my Friday nights, but listen, woo! Mike could tell you when I stumble up in this place on a Saturday morning trying to wake people up with some energy. Man, been having that energy myself. But, man, listen, Scotty, you broke some news, man. And I don't really know if it's breaking, but you brought it to everybody's attention that there's a possibility of trouble down the pipeline for the MEAC. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, man. So at first I got a source that hit me up and was like, hey, NCCU and South Carolina State are looking to make some moves. And you know, with me, you know, I do a little word on the street, but I don't like to do it with just one source. So, you know, a couple of days go by and I get hit up by 2 other people. And they're like, hey, you know, rumor is, and it's the same thing. So I ran with it. But the thing is, it really started back after the MEAC tournament, and a lot of Howard alums were getting on Twitter complaining of the circumstances of the tournament. They didn't like it. They need to be moved because when they see the CIAA tournament, they see what the SWAC is doing in Atlanta, right? It's more conducive to the environment that they want, and they feel Norfolk is not. So, you know, but as commissioners, and I won't go too hard, but as commissioners they do what's best for them and their bottom line, and Norfolk gives them a good deal on the stadium. But a lot of Howard alums are like, hey, if we don't move this, we're going to start pulling our weight. And we kind of understood what that was. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying like, hey, we'll shake this thing up. We don't have to be in the MEAC. And I think that was the first domino that failed. And then when you start hearing rumors of NCCU and South Carolina State being courted by SOCON, the CAA, and the CIAA, if anybody doesn't know, that's a Division II conference, which NCCU came out of, right? That it started getting traction. It started getting serious. So it's just a lot of moving parts to this. And I think Sandra, the commissioner of the MEAC, she really, really needs to be on her P's and Q's.
How serious is this situation? I know it was a rumor mill, but as it started to unfold, I saw even with what you tweeted, I started to see South Carolina State Alumni Association pick up on this and try to bring awareness amongst their alums. But how serious can this potentially be?
Very serious. I know I'll say this, on the NCCU and Howard side, it is very serious. Now, South Carolina State, I think they're still a little fluid, but NCCU, I talked to a very, very high alum who's really close to the chancellor and close to and he told me, he was like, we were possibly thinking about moving last year. He said, but I'm telling you right now, he said, if the right opportunity comes, NCCU is gone.
And that's tough, because looking at the MEAC, of course, they lost North Carolina A&T and Hampton. They've recently lost Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M, who have come over to the SWAC. And now the possibility, you're saying North Carolina Central, Howard, and maybe South Carolina State. That's tough for that conference, man, moving forward. And what is the outlook? And then what seems to be the complaint that they're having with the MEAC, if you have heard a complaint?
The lack of vision, right? So it's a multitude of things, but I think the hiring of Sonja Stills rubbed people the wrong way. And I think you got that hire because of an in-house, I'll say she's an in-house funeral director, right? So it's like, how the bodies were embalmed. You know where the dead bodies are. You know where the bones are scattered. So you're not going to come into a situation and shake the boat. You're just happy to get the job. And I think it's one of those things where, and we all are your listeners, and we understand when new management comes on the scene, right? Like somebody outside of the company, stuff changes, right? Y'all do this. Why y'all doing this? We don't do this. And, at my last job, and it's always that type of energy that comes into the room. And I think for a lot of HBCU conferences, they don't want that energy, because now you start to question, why were you guys doing it? Who branded with this? Who thought this was a smart deal? Who thought this was a smart way to negotiate this? You get a lot of that, and making people feel inferior to what they what they felt they had accomplished. So that's how you get Sandra in position. And then on top of that, with no lack of vision, where there isn't any attempt to bring in new schools. And I say this on my platform all the time. I'm like, listen, and once again, to all you listeners out there, there's PWI conferences. We understand that. But they understand, to survive in this day and age in college athletics, you need bodies. You need schools. So what did these PWI conferences do? They went and got some HBCU schools that have a great profile, that have a great marketing base, and say, hey, listen, come on over here. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you as a member. But we're not doing that for our Black conferences. We're not going out trying to survive and getting comparable PWIs to come into the conference to say, hey, keep us alive, keep our legacy going until we find, another Black school to elevate and come into the conference. So I think it's a lack of vision. It's, piss poor planning of trying to get new institutions into the MEAC. And it's the lack of ingenuity and creativity to do something different and to give the schools a different experience. So it's the same old, and they're tired of it.
And I think the writing is on the wall, and it's been there quite some time for the MEAC. You had Savannah State, who had moved up for a quick second and realized, hey, this is a lot to deal with. They dropped back down to Division II. You looked at once Hampton and A&T, and A&T had success in the MEAC, especially when you're talking about football side of things. But when you saw them jump and said, hey, thank you, but no thank you, we'll move forward. And then I think it really made sense once you lost to Florida, Bethune-Cookman, and Florida A&M. It really started to wake up and say, man, what more does this conference have to offer? Because teams are jumping ship. And right now, if you start to lose the rest of those teams, man, you're going to really be left with nothing. Hey, Scotty, I got to get ready to take a break. Can you hold on for a second?
I surely can.
All right, let's get ready to take a break, and we'll come back on this side. We'll continue this conversation. Is the MEAC in trouble? You guys stay tuned. We'll be back more to Jaguar Journal.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
T.R. Ricks is a fifth-year senior who's getting his first chance to drive the train that Bob talked about. And right now, he's driving it quite well because the Southern Jaguars are kicking butt in the SWAC conference. As Bob mentioned, 6-0 overall in the SWAC, and T.R. Ricks has played so well, over 2,000 yards passing. In the last 3 games running the football, he's been over 100 yards on the ground. The respect factor that he gets from his teammates is incredible. As a fifth-year senior who's never started, they elected him captain. And the numbers he has put up are represented on your screen. 27 total touchdowns on the offense, a pass percentage of nearly 60%. He could be the SWAC Player of the Year on the offensive side.
Best, and they're going to get a huge dose of the best offensive player in the SWAC, and that being Thomas Ricks.
Yeah, what Thomas Ricks has found a way to do is just beat defenses either with his arm, with his feet, or with his leadership capabilities, finding a way to win the games late with fourth quarter comebacks. He showed versatility and athleticism. He's a tremendous athlete that knows how to win, most importantly.
He really is a leader both on and off the field.
I just think it has come to a maturity level. I have a 4-year-old son, and, when he was born, I had to grow up fast and, just staying in school and practicing every day, trying to get better every day, just so he can have a better future. It's just been my inspiration. So, I just think that's my motor that drives me and, keeps me in the game.
His 4-year-old son, Collier, has not missed a game this season. They throw the football around in Rick's dorm room at Southern, and he says it's great playing football with Collier. 1st and 10. Ricks. He's got Vernon. Vernon makes the catch at the 45.
They can run the entire offense with all those guys in the game.
Ricks to Vernon. 1st down. Holmes in the backfield. Ricks. 1st down. Gage on the tackle, but not until Ricks picks up the 1st down. 2nd and 7. Ricks. Overstreet's got it. Across midfield. Ricks. As a receiver downfield. It's caught for a touchdown. Territory. Ricks. Fakes the pitch. Gets inside the 15.
He's in the type of young men that represent his philosophy in life and in football.
Ricks in a shotgun. He's going to run it out to the 10. And 2nd and 11 after the holding penalty. Sidearm toss.
Back, it's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody out there listening on Talk 107.3 FM. Glad to have you guys with us, and everybody watching on our YouTube and Facebook Live. Glad to have you guys. Got my man Scotty, the host of a YouTube series, All Script. Glad to have him on with us. We're talking about the MEAC. Is the MEAC in trouble? And Scotty, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on and talk about this, you brought this attention to everybody because you started to hear the rumblings and having that conversation. But most importantly, if you're in the SWAC, this matters to you. This is nothing that you're just looking over in the MEAC and saying, well, that's their business. They're going to have to deal with it. One of the reasons I want to have this conversation here, because this is going to potentially impact the SWAC if this move does happen with schools leaving the MEAC, because guess what? The SWAC and the MEAC have a partnership. For those out there that's listening. Only the biggest black college football game of the year is called the Celebration Bowl, which is crowned our basically Division I HBCU national champion, the winner of the MEAC versus the winner of the SWAC, with a national televised game played in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Scotty, if this move does happen, we then have to look at what it could do to potentially jeopardize the future of the Celebration Bowl.
Absolutely. I mean, you better get ready for the FCS playoff. I mean, other than Grambling and Southern, right? But it's one of those things where it's tough because it's like, yeah, they'll mess up an opportunity, but they messed it up themselves. You know, it's not something that ESPN dropped the ball on. Again, it's one of those things which your mom would say, if you really cared about it, you would have done the due diligence to make sure it happened, right? I know it looks bad when you add PWIs and then they could possibly be in the Celebration Bowl, but hey, man, listen, you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure you survive, and that is where the lack of ingenuity, of vision is fallen victim to the MEAC. So yeah, I mean, could it be detrimental? Absolutely. One team leaves, it's a wrap. It only takes one domino to fall in this thing to really make it a house of cards that just comes collapsing down on itself. And it's sad because I believe it is preventable with the right commissioner. And I do believe if I'm the MEAC and I'm the president, you got to make a quick and haste decision to let her go and get somebody in there that you feel can turn the MEAC around and give them a chance. Because I feel like it's like this, Pete. I feel like if they get a new commissioner and they'll give you time, you know what I'm saying? They'll give you about 1 or 2 years to kind of like, hey, figure this out, fix it. But if that doesn't work or if that is not the route they decide to go, yeah, the MEAC could be on his last days.
Let me ask you this and have this conversation with me. I'm finna go outside the box. I'm finna go way outside the box, all right? For everybody out there listening, even Scotty, I'm finna do it. So don't be like, what the hell is Perry? All right, if I'm the SWAC, I now have to start thinking about a plan B because the Celebration Bowl means something for me. I'm no longer looking at the MEAC because I'm saying, hey, they got issues over there, and I don't know how long. They may survive next year. They may survive the year after, but nonetheless, we see they have issues. All right, if I'm the SWAC, now I got to start to look at football is our biggest moneymaker. How do we then continue the success that we want to have in terms of bringing viewers and fans? Because in all honesty, the SWAC does not want to participate in the FCS football as a whole. You got some teams who will. We saw Florida A&M do it. They were the first team since the 90s in the conference to participate in the FCS playoffs. Listening to Prairie View's AD and their new coach, to me, it sounds like, hey, if we fall short of a championship, we'll have no problem participating in the FCS playoffs. But now let's have an outside-the-box conversation. If something happens to the MEAC and the MEAC can no longer hold their weight because they're already playing conference, they don't start conference schedule until Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. That is November 1st, the end of October. While the SWAC is already a month into conference play, probably for some teams, a month and a half into conference play. The SWAC, I think, in my opinion, has to begin to look forward. And if you want to look forward into the future of what SWAC football could look like, maybe SWAC football has to then some type of way have its own playoff. And I say it this way. Once again, I'm out the box. Y'all just bear with me as I explain it. If we no longer can continue to move forward with the MEAC, with the Celebration Bowl, basically the SWAC championship is a semifinal game into the championship game itself anyway. If I take away the divisions, and here we go, and let's say, Scotty, I start to do pods. People may not like it, but let's look at a pod. Let's take, I say, a West pod. I put Texas Southern, Prairie View, Grambling, and Southern in that pod. I may have another pod with 4 teams, UAPB, Mississippi Valley, Jackson, Alcorn. Then I got another pod. Let's make that the East. Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M. Now, I'm just giving an idea because there's still a lot of thought to be put into it. But then you take away from so many teams having to play each other throughout the conference season, which we're playing 8-9 conference games now. You keep it within those pods because guess what? Geographically, those pods are putting you in great places for your fan bases to play those teams, and those are your considered main conference games. And maybe you have that 1 or 2 inter-pod, like we do now, divisional game. When we get to the end of the season, you get the 4 best teams, and you do a semifinal game. And that semifinal game is hosted at the 2 teams whoever have the highest seed. And then after that semifinal game, whoever wins those games where a school gets to host that, those two teams go play in the Celebration Bowl. It's out the box. It's a lot of thought that needs to go into it in terms of logistics. But I'm just thinking that's just some type of thought that has to be out there in order to realize how important the Celebration Bowl is to us. And if we got to carry it ourselves and basically make it a glorified SWAC championship game, then we got to be thinking ahead the possibilities of what could be out there in order to be able to continue to have that game and then play those semifinal games, basically what the SWAC championship game is now. You're basically just adding one more with one more team hosting it, and everybody moves on. It's far-fetched, it's out the box, but it's just a thought.
I wouldn't, me personally, I don't think the SWAC football is good enough for that, right? If there were more top teams that could give you some parity, maybe in the 90s where, or early 2000s when, it was a strong case. I don't think you can get that now. What I would do, I would still take your premise, but I would open it up to every HBCU Division I, right? If you're not in your conference's championship game, or you don't have a bid to go into the playoffs, you're eligible to be a part of the Celebration Bowl playoff, right? So it would be like I would do a 6 to 8 team playoff, maybe 6 to 8, 6 or 8, and I would open it to Tennessee State. I would open it to NCAT. I would open it to Hampton, right? If NCCU and they in South Carolina say Dip or Howard, I'm opening it to every HBCU Division I, and I think that gives you it gives you the parity that you're looking for because you've seen these teams play over here. You've seen these teams play over there, but they haven't played each other, right? You've seen in the SWAC of how teams have played each other. So it would be like watching repeats all over again. And I don't think there's a brand of football that good to be like, I want to watch that again.
And I guess, Scotty, that's why I'm limited when I'm saying pods. Yeah. I'm limited the amount of possibilities that you may get these rematches. It's almost like, look at the MEAC right now. The MEAC plays how many conference games? 4 or 5?
5.
5. The rest of that schedule is open to do whatever you want to do. All right, let's say we do the same thing. If we're going to do this, where we're going to do these 4 or 5, let's say 5 conference games, right? If you have these pods, it's 4 teams. You got 3 teams that you playing within your pod for sure because geographically they make sense. Then you can get 2 other teams that you want. Whoever the other 2 could be, and it could make sense for you geographically, or it can make sense to you because of rivals or whatever else. So now you limit the possibilities of that many more rematches down the line. And if you want to get wacky with it, if you really want to get wacky and bringing in the HBCUs, if South Carolina State, Central, and let's say even Howard decides to leave, or let's say Howard stays, then you absorb and create a whole nother pod with those teams that's left over from the MEAC. You got Delaware State and Norfolk with Michael Vick and Deshaun right there. You got Morgan State. And if Howard sticks around, you got Howard. You will have 4 more teams to add to include in it. And, hey, these are ideas, but it's just the thought of we got to start having ideas out there right now because the writing is on the wall. The MEAC is unstable. And if we do not start to have these type of think tanks currently for the survival, because we always talking about, we see the world of college athletics change, particularly college football, directly in front of us. We realize now how big the Celebration Bowl is for not only the MEAC, clearly, but for the SWAC, the added revenue, the television, everything else that goes along with it. There's no way we can lose it because of what it means to us right now. So we got to start to have these think tanks. And if something is far-fetched, that's fine. It's a thought. It's an idea. That's the type of creative things that has to be on the table right now in order to be able to ensure that we have that we survive the future of college football.
I just listen. I like the idea premise. I just don't like it. First of all, if you add in Delaware State and Norfolk, that's just ridiculous, right? Because the travel is just going to be crazy.
Well, that's why you do the pods. Remember, they play their teams there, and then they don't seed everybody else into the possibility of when you get to that playoff.
My thing is this, though. The issue with that is who's to say they don't jump into another conference?
Well, they
right?
could.
That's why I think if you leave it, if you want to do the pods and the SWAC, I think they should do that regardless because I think it shouldn't be any divisions, right? So that we'll leave that as it is. We'll agree on that.
I'm agree with you. I'm not a fan of the East-West division at all.
Yeah, most of these teams are going to jump into other conferences because they got sports to play, right? They want to do basketball. They're not going to stay independent. So you have to already have that premise that, okay, Delaware State probably going to go to the MEAC. Howard, NCCU, or South Carolina State either going to go to the CAA or they're going to the SoCon, right? South Carolina State might go to SoCon, NCCU, and Howard might go to the CAA because of NCAT and Hampton being there, and they're their natural rival. So, hey, let's just slide them over to CAA. So if they're all jumping ship, right, Norfolk might go to the OVC or Big South or whatever. So if they're already in a conference, that's why, to me, I think if you just leave it open, I don't think any of those programs they might win their conference maybe once or twice in every 4 or 5 years.
Oh, so the ones that are in the PWI conferences?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, look how long Tennessee State been. It's been a long time since they won that conference, right? They got a share of that. I don't see A&T or Hampton no time soon winning their conference.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? But why? But wouldn't they'll be a great addition to a black college playoff system because the fans going to come, right? And the fact that they get an opportunity to go back to the Celebration Bowl and win it when they're not in a black conference, they're going to brag about it.
Now, this is the only thing I would say. They're going to have to at least play some. I can't have you coming into my playoff and you only won 3 games on the season.
No, it's the top teams in HBCU. It's not. Yeah, it will be like, let's say Tennessee State lost their championship game or they lost and they couldn't make it to the championship game. Well, that's an 8-win team.
Yeah.
Like that's the team you would invite. You would invite an NCCU that missed that had that battle with South Carolina State. You would invite them. You would invite NCCU. So let's just go by this year, right? So Tennessee State didn't make it. You would invite them. You wouldn't have invited NCAT. They were trash, right? Yeah. So you would do NCCU, South Carolina State, Tennessee State, Jackson State, SAMU, Bama State, and that's pretty. And Southern, you have to have Southern in there. So you might.
Yeah, you got to have Southern in there.
Yeah, because it was in the SWAC championship. So you have to have Southern, Jackson, SAM, NCCU.
So you want a big playoff?
Yeah, like
I'm trying to limit it to just a semifinal and a championship is what I'm trying to do.
No.
I'm trying to limit it to 2 games.
Nah.
2 games, the higher seed win. You win home field advantage, and then we take it because we're talking about getting late into the season into December. There's only so much of this I can sell to our fans and then trying to get them to go to Atlanta. There's only so much that I know we're going to be able to spend on travel and everything else that late into the season and then trying to get them.
It's really not that late because you have you know why it's that late? Because of the Bayou Classic. That's the reason why everything got to get pushed back.
And it's
the Bayou Classic. And we don't have enough time in the day to talk about why they still trying to play that game that late, but neither here nor there. My thing is this, is that you just do double headers on Saturdays, right? So if the week after you put, to me, listen, I don't care about the college football playoffs. That's not our concern. You use the week after for the double headers, and then you use the next week for, the finish off, and then you got the Celebration Bowl. That's just what it is. So if you do 8 teams, 2 teams are going to be on bye. So you need 3 weeks. So you need the first week for the quarterfinals, then the semifinals, and then the championship game.
And see, look, that's all we're doing. We're having conversation, people. This is what has to happen. Young brothers with creative minds. We trying here, Scotty. We're not saying it's perfect. We're not saying it's perfect. We're not saying we got all the answers, but this is the type of conversations that we got to begin to start to have because, once again, the writing is on the wall. The MEAC is in trouble. The MEAC has already lost 4 teams in the past, considered 5 with Savannah State dropping down to Division II, and with South Carolina State, North Carolina Central, and Howard now potentially saying, you know what, I may jump ship too. Us as a conference for survival as the SWAC got to begin to look at it because guess what? Football above anything. I love the rest of the sports, but football is the moneymaker. It's what pays the bill, and it what brings the eyes to our school. It is the front door to all of our athletics. So, Scotty, man, I appreciate you for coming on this morning and being able to share that information with me. And look, man, I always enjoy just being able to have that think tank. Ain't none of us have it perfect. None of us got the answer, but the fact is, this is where the conversation starts, being able to put an idea out there and start going back and forth with those ideas and writing it down and figure out what the possibilities can be.
I mean, I got the answer. You ain't got the answer, Sway, but I got the answer.
Look at him. See, you try to give him a compliment, then he shows out. Bye, man.
Be that, boy.
All right. Let's get ready to take a break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get ready to close things out. That was my man, Scotty. Y'all stay tuned. All right. More of the Jaguar Journal.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
Talk about offense, we talk about Southern, and it begins with their passing game.
Tom, beyond potent, we're talking about high octane, we're talking about fast break, we're talking about 41 points a game, some 500 plus yards since Terrence Levy has taken over this offense.
Because that young man doesn't drop any ball.
With the legacy that you started here, you got to feel happy to see it continue on with Doug Williams.
Ball now back at the 22-yard line. Levy, no pressure at all. Touchdown, Ingram. The Bayou Classic. Levy on a first and goal play. Throws a touchdown. Grambling comes with a blitz. Levy steps in the pocket. And his pass is caught. One-handed grab.
Sort of in the middle of the road of the SWAC, but immediately they jump on the Jackson State defense. And here's Levy rolling out. And the pass is caught. Ball is at the 31-yard line. Again throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver Hayes makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. If you're going to get, I got some free tickets. Look out for it, brother. Going downfield. Oh, and what a play by Southern.
Score. He's played a lot tougher ever since. And this is a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
It's
pass.
a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside the 10, the 5. Unbelievable, Michael Hayes. 3rd down. And 23 for a first. Levy over the middle. Nice pass that time. 2nd and 20. Levy doesn't have to get it all, but he's going to have to pick up some yards. Here he is throwing. Nice catch made.
The receiver, Michael Hayes. There he goes.
Hayes makes the catch. Hayes still on his feet. Hayes looking for blocking. Hayes trying to find a hole. Hayes is still on his feet. He alley-oops. He's inside the 15 and drawn out a foul.
Touchdown.
Backfield. Plenty of time for Levy across the middle. Has his man at the 15. You know, I don't know if you want to break the spirit of Terrence Levy or not. Here he wings one wide open down the middle and a one-handed grab made.
The way. 3rd down in 4. And here's Lewis off the catch. Lewis still on his feet. And Lewis is streaking down the sideline. Touchdown. So they move back.
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White. Good morning to everybody out there listening on 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge capital city area, and everybody out there watching and listening on our Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to go follow us. Listen, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Be sure to go find the Jaguar Journal on there, as well as hit that subscribe button on our Jaguar Journal YouTube channel. We're on X and Instagram. Just type in Jaguar Journal _ and, of course, on Facebook, the Jaguar Journal. Thank you guys for all the support. Want to thank my man Scotty coming on, having that conversation about the MEAC. Want to thank my man Coach Henry Miller, defensive coordinator at Southern University, for coming on, giving us an update into spring football and what we're looking like on defense. And then, of course, Southern University head softball coach Brittany Williams, talking to us about this weekend series against Grambling being postponed to a later date due to the possibility of inclement weather here in South Louisiana. To everybody out there that's listening, man, as always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching and listening to us each and every Saturday. It may not be everything you want to hear, but trust me, I got to bring the information out here for everybody, whether you like it or not. It's the conversation, and that conversation like Scotty and I was having. Look, we may not have it figured out, but the fact is that we're thinking. That's what it's about at the end of the day. Sometimes that's what scares people. I found out that's why a lot of people sometimes may not be too fond of Perry White. I think differently, and I'm okay with being an outside-the-box thinker, whether it's to Southern, the SWAC, or a lot of things that I do. I have a different mindset of how I see things. It don't mean how I see it is right. It's just sometimes what I bring to the table, and many others like hearing Scotty as well, it makes people uncomfortable because, as he said, people are used to doing it this way. For so long, you've had your mind be in one track, and sometimes it makes people uncomfortable when they hear you coming up with something different because you're ruffling feathers. You're stirring up something, and that's okay. What's a society if we don't do that? What's a society if everybody thinks the same way and we don't eventually open our minds to have a different way of thinking, or at least bring those ideas to the table? And because I don't agree with you does not mean I'm mad at you or I hate you. It means let's find a common idea. Let's find a common place in the middle with an idea. But that's the whole idea, man. I just want people to understand we got to think outside the box. If the MEAC is in trouble, and we understand in the SWAC, as football fans, because y'all love football. If I could talk football every Saturday, you would love it. I could, but I just choose not to. But I know how much you love your football. So we got to then begin to look at the future, and we got to begin to have this thought process of how do we survive on our own? And what does that look like? And we cannot sit back and wait on it to happen and then try to make a plan. We got to already have something in place now. This should be an emergency amongst the conference right now, that if the MEAC is having an issue down, they've already lost 4, and considering Savannah State, 5 teams in that conference over the past decade. Now moving forward, this is a problem. It is an emergency if you ask me, and we got to take it serious. We have to take it serious. All right, hope everybody enjoyed today's show, man. Of course, I enjoyed it. Mike, you enjoyed it? Mike said it went by fast. He just ready for it to be done. But, Mike, I appreciate everything that you do behind the scenes. What a lot of people don't know, Mike worked hard to make sure all this stuff up and running. I thank you all of our guests on this morning. I thank you most of all, the listeners, whether you're listening on the radio or whatever else, man. Just the fact that you get up on a Saturday morning. It's hard to do a 2-hour show, folks, on a Saturday morning. But somebody got to do it, and I'm going to do it, Perry White. So thank you guys for tuning in each and every week, man. And if the man upstairs says the same, I'll be back at the same time, the same place next week, because it's the Jaguar Journal. Have a good week, everybody. What's going on, everybody? I am Perry White. I'm the host of the Jaguar Journal. I want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.